It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantatrax TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine. Indeed, we're back once again with your weekly recap of everything Star Wars. So, what have we got in store for you tonight? First up, we're going to be looking forward to the Disney Gallery of the Mandalorian, the behind-the-scenes look at Season 3 that comes to Disney Plus 28th of June. Also coming to Disney Plus on the 31st of May is the entire Indiana Jones archive, although not necessarily the case for people outside of the US. We'll be discussing that. Star Wars Fun Day was last weekend. It was a lot of fun. We'll be reflecting back on that and checking a lot of behind-the-scenes video with Grogu. Next, we'll be looking at the Hasbro Young Jedi Adventures figures in their packaging that we got an exclusive first look at. And we'll be checking out the teaser trailer for The Creator, a new film from Rogue One director Gareth Edwards. And last but not least, probably the big news of the week, we'll be discussing the decommissioning of the Halcyon as the Galactic Starcruiser looks set to take its final flight on the 28th of September. Joining me to discuss all that and much, much more from Fantatrax.com, Clair Hendry and Paul McQue. Hi, guys.
Hello, Brian. Hello, Claire.
Hi, Paul. Hello, Brian.
Paul,
Good
how's
morning.
your week been?
It's been good. Been busy.
Very busy. And Claire, you've been celebrating this week as well. A birthday?
I have indeed. I hit a monumentous half century this week, and I've been partying hard, and I've had really, really great fun, and it's been lovely. I've had a special message from Yunus Sunamuta. I can never say his name right, and I couldn't even say it right properly on Friday night when I was shown it. Fellow Fantatracker Andrew Walker managed to get Yunus to sing Happy Birthday to me in Wookiee, no less. So check out our socials. It'll be coming up online. It's currently on my at Irish Geek Girl. So who knew that a Wookiee could sing Happy Birthday? But he sang it very well, I have to say. And then I was at a fellow Fantatracker's wedding yesterday. Paul and Mandy tied the knot, not as it would appear on the Fantatrack socials. Andy and Paul did not get married together. They both happened to have their weddings on the same day. So I was at Paul and Mandy's wedding yesterday and with Mr. Newbold, and we had a lovely, lovely day celebrating their wedding. And then I believe there was some fellow Fantatrackers up at Andy's wedding with Safi as well up north. So yeah, it's been a busy week, celebrating and having a great
congratulations time. Goes out to all of them as well.
Yes.
Yeah, great stuff. We've got lots of news to cover today, so we should get stuck into it and check out the first article of the day. So first up, Disney Gallery of the Mandalorian is coming back, and they're going to have another behind the scenes look at season 3. It's going to hit Disney Plus on the 28th of June. I want to get your thoughts on season 3 just in general, because it's probably been a season that's kind of divided fans. Claire, what was your take on season 3 of The Mandalorian? Did it work for you?
Bits of it did, I feel. It was amazing to be part of it, watching it in celebration. That for me was probably the highlight. And they chose the best episodes, I feel, to share with Star Wars fans. I feel it was a bit slow and a bit disjointed going up to it. It didn't have that sort of feel, that sort of Western sort of, feel to it that I felt that the others had. That episode with Grogu in the old IG-88, I thought that was very funny, and certainly my daughter seemed to like that a lot. For me, I feel it was probably a holding pattern of a series. I think it was a bit of a precursor to, here's things that are going to happen. Here's Mandalore, here's this, here's that. And, we'll try and pull it all together. But they didn't really, did they? And so we know that there's things coming ahead with, the scientist, etc., etc. So I think that there's more to come, and I'm hoping it won't be as disjointed. I enjoyed it. I watched it every week, but, will I watch it over again like I did Obi-Wan or Andor? No, I won't be doing that again.
Yeah. And Paul, your take?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I enjoyed the whole Bo-Katan storyline. That episode, as Claire mentioned with the scientist, I like that as a little distraction, as a little, hey, remember this? They're obviously going to come back to that at some point.
Yeah.
So, and like Claire, again, watching that at Celebration, and that, what was there, 4,000 people or something in that hall, all watching together. That's the sort of thing that makes Celebration, having that communal experience where everyone's shouting and cheering. The episode prior to that, where it was like cameos galore, and it was really quite, how can I say, Jack Black, so campy, and then to go from the campiness of Star Wars to the seriousness in the next episode, I think that was purely intentional for, the juxtaposition of, this is what Star Wars can be, but we can also do this as well. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think I kind of agree with you both in that. I guess my position is kind of a bit different in that I don't watch the Star Wars animated stuff, so Bo-Katan hasn't got much meaning to me. The whole story behind the Darksaber and Mandalore doesn't mean that much to me. I understand what the story is, but I'm not necessarily as invested in it as someone that was deeply into the animation. I can get past that, but I was okay with the series until it hit. I think episode 6 was the cameo episode. I like to call it the cameo episode, and that was just demoralizing, because that was what Star Wars shouldn't be. And so I didn't get into the main screen panel at Celebration. I was in I think it was the Galactic stage, which was one of the side stages, and I was there with Sander, and I went in with such low expectations having come off that episode, and I was on such a high at the end of that episode, because it was everything that Star Wars should be. Episode 7, it really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Again, and it goes back to, it was hitting sort of the popularity, that cameo one, because Lizzo, and I have seen Lizzo live, she is absolutely fabulous. Yep. She's a fabulous person. She does a lot of promotion about, body conscious, about all sorts of different things. And to see her on that, my daughter, for example, it hit that generation. Mm-hmm. It might not have hit our generation, if you know what I mean. certainly Sophie's friends were all talking about, did you see Lizzo on Star Wars, Claire? You know, it wasn't, did you watch Star Wars, Claire? It was, did you see Lizzo? But they watched that episode because she was on it. So if we've managed to get a couple of, you know, extra fans from that, you know,
yeah,
why not? It's not my thing, but you know, that episode in Celebration was my thing, and to be with friends and you know, and other Star Wars fans, it certainly hit it for me.
I think that's what I missed as well, as watching Star Wars on the big screen and with a crowd that was really pumped for watching Star Wars, and it was great. It was a great experience, and I'm glad they announced that they were making 3 new films that morning, because all you thought after that was, I want to see Star Wars back in the cinema. And that episode, you could have extended it and could quite easily have been a movie. It was at that kind of level. But then I was kind of disappointed with the final episode. I thought the finale kind of reverted back to the early episodes of the season. It was kind of didn't end on a downer, but it just I keep asking this question: what is Star Wars supposed to be? And I don't think overall, in terms of the whole narrative of Star Wars, they've got a clear direction. And it kind of felt, especially in the season 3 of The Mandalorian, I don't think they really knew what story they wanted to tell. They kind of had ideas on maybe certain elements they wanted to show, but not really a connecting storyline, and it just kind of fell flat a little bit.
I feel what they're doing is they're trying to expand the universe, to expand it beyond the the original trilogy or the prequels, as we call it, and they're trying to expand it. So they're trying to look at all these different facets of the universe and to see where people like it. So there's sort of tests running it out on people, you know, but it keeps coming down to me, it goes back to the original bits, Andor, Obi-Wan. They, for me, were a Rogue One, even to, you know, they're the bits of the new sort of slant that I feed into. Rebels, to a certain extent as well. I really enjoyed Rebels. But the whole new Clone Wars and what do you call that one with Omega in it?
Bad Batch.
The Bad Batch isn't floating my boat, but I know it is from being in Celebration, seeing that it has. So, you know, the fandom's expanding because they're expanding the universe.
Yeah.
You know, so there is something for everybody, but you just got to try and work out which bit you want to focus on and which bit you want to go with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of does. It does feel like The Mandalorian at times is trying to be very experimental.
Seriously, I'll put my Damon Lindelof fanboy hat back on. Get him in the writer's room for the TV shows. That's what he excels at.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him involved in the TV side of things.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be a big gap, I think, when Andor finishes, because it's captivated so many people. And, you know, we don't have much that doesn't fall into the Filoni Favreau verse. We've got the Acolyte coming, but I think a lot of people have kind of diverted a little bit from the High Republic. So that kind of series needs to sit on its own, I think, away from the High Republic. Just because I think people have got lost in the sheer volume of content of the High Republic. They haven't been able to keep up. So the kind of need...
I haven't even followed the High Republic, if I'm perfectly honest. It's something that I have not been able to. There's too much. So you've got... and that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to choose where you want to go with it.
Yeah.
I've not gone High Republic at all.
I managed to be in the High Republic panel for about 20 minutes or so at Celebration, and because I enjoy my sort of Star Wars publishing stuff, but it's very cult-like. The supporters of the High Republic, and I mean that in a positive way for them, because there's such like a core nucleus and a little group that they're so involved in the High Republic, and there's such a connection between the writers and the fans on that. But then it becomes a little bit exclusionary to people that are on the outside of that. I think that's the problem. So the Acolyte needs to kind of sit on its own, which I think the intention is for it to be based in that era, but be its own thing. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's the case. But I do feel that, you know, once we lose Tony Gilroy from Andor, we need someone to be stepping into that shoes, and that's going to be big shoes to fill now, I think, to bring another series
I
on.
think Paul's suggestion's a good one.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
all for that.
I think a lot of that might boil down to how many bridges are burnt, with obviously him wanting to have been involved in the movie project and that fallen away a little bit. So, Paul, coming to you, just based on the Disney Gallery for season 3, what do you want to see from season 3 in terms of behind the scenes?
I mean, I'm always fascinated by the volume and how they're now using it. Like what from a couple of years ago when it, you know, when they were first starting to use it and to work out its strengths and weaknesses. Now they've got a bit more experience. What have they added to it? What have they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What have they changed? What have they developed? What have they moved forward?
And
that sort of stuff. I'm always interested in that sort of stuff.
For you, Claire?
I just love looking at how on earth they make all this. I mean, I know it. I know that they have this screen or they have this big, massive LED screen now and whatever. But I just love seeing how they bring it all to life. So for me, for the gallery, I just love watching it to see the background, to see what's going on. I'm just fascinated, even with the costume changes, all that sort of stuff, even the concept art. I know we get a glimpse of that at the end of every episode anyway, and it's very McQuarrie, isn't it?
Yeah.
But even still, you know, you get a glimpse of it then. So I just love watching it to see where it's all come from. It still amazes me, you know, where these ideas come from, really.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating listening to them.
I think for me, I want something a little along the lines of the round table that they had way back at the start, and just have them sit around the table and discuss what was their motivations and thinking behind some of the storylines and some of the episodes. Because I wasn't a fan of The Last Jedi, but I found the documentary for The Last Jedi to be quite cathartic in a way, and I kind of think I need that a little bit from The Mandalorian. I kind of need to hear more from them, their thinking process and the motivations and what was behind it. So I'm hoping there's a little bit of that in it, because they kind of drifted away from that kind of format in sort of recent Disney galleries, and I'm hoping, you know, we get more Disney galleries on behind the scenes as well, and some of the other shows and content as well, because I do enjoy that little sneaking little look behind the scenes. Moving on to the next article. Again, it's a Disney Plus, but something different from Star Wars. Indiana Jones is finally going to arrive on Disney Plus from the 31st of May. It's obviously been co-owned a little bit with Paramount and complicated film creation legal contracts, and so it's been available, I think, on Paramount Plus in the States, and it's been available on Apple TV, I think, in the UK. And it was announced that everything that would be heading across to Disney Plus, so all 4 movies and the television series, which they've renamed The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones. But not the case in the UK. Only the films are going to be heading across in the UK. The TV series, or at least part of it, is going to remain on Apple Plus over here, obviously. There's contracts in place and so on. But are you excited for Indiana Jones coming to Disney Plus, and excited for the new movie? Obviously, the premiere was in Cannes this week. I'll start with you, Paul.
Absolutely. I mean, I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't on Disney Plus when it first launched. I was sort of looking for it, and it was like, But then, like as you say, they've obviously got legal complications, and Paramount owns whatever. But yeah, it's fantastic to see it eventually. A little bit disappointed that the TV isn't coming to the UK, but I suppose it will eventually. And as far as the new movie, I'm absolutely hyped for it. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
I'll be there first day.
It's been hard reading some of the reviews
I'm
this
not
past
ready.
week
I'm
because
staying away.
people seem to think it's a great idea to put spoilers in reviews for films that are out in 40 days, and like sites like Deadline, which you kind of expect more of, really went spoiler heavy in their review, and it's just like I wish I hadn't started reading that. But I think the reviews have been a bit of a mixed bag, which is normally the case in Cannes because it's a little bit snooty. But you know, I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones, another big movie franchise from my childhood. Claire, what's your kind of thoughts on?
I am so looking forward to it. I remember it being when we were younger, as you say, from a childhood. I remember being, oh my God, this is the first time I'm going to get to see Han Solo in another film. First of all, and then I just love the films. I'm still scarred by the melting faces. I'm not going to lie. And then we watched it with Sophie, and she is also scarred by the melting faces. I'm not going to lie that either. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We are planning to watch all the movies, and then we're going to go and see the film. And again, we got to see a bit of the teaser trailer, didn't we, of it, and a little snippet of it in the panel at Celebration. We weren't on the main stage in Celebration, but we were in one of the side panels, and we got to see a clip of it, and it just looks like a classic Indiana Jones film. And you know, I know that they've CGI'd Harrison Ford a little bit and whatever, but you know, the man's 80 and he's still doing a film of a high caliber like this one. You know, credit where credit's due. I know that when he was filming it over here, he was out doing his 100k cycles or 100-mile cycles around Yorkshire, wherever he was, and he did one near where I lived as well, apparently. So I'm a bit gutted I missed him there. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge, amazing. I just love her. I think she's hilarious. So I think she's a good, you know, co-star for it. I think she'll be brilliant.
Yeah,
she was my favourite part of Solo.
Yeah, she was mine too. I'm going to cause controversy here. I did not like Solo. It's my least favourite.
Oh, I love Solo.
Are you on that boat, Paul, or are you on the other camp?
No, I'm like, the one thing that really bugs me about Solo is the whole train sequence. Why are they using a train when they've got ships? Like,
exactly.
They would never take a train. Like, that just wouldn't happen.
Nope.
Like,
Nope.
well, in my world anyway, it wouldn't. But why take a train when you've got a ship there? Like,
could you take a train instead of a car?
I get it.
I love Solo.
The whole Western, you know, you've got to have a train in a Western movie, but nah.
If you think about it, in Indiana Jones, it's Han Solo teaming up with the Millennium Falcon again.
It is. Yeah. It is actually. It is, but yeah, Solo just didn't work for me. So I'm quite happy to be looking forward to seeing Harrison back in this one again.
In terms of the future of Indiana Jones beyond this film, does it end with Harrison, or does the franchise continue with? Does it continue in some way?
They'll reboot it eventually.
Yeah,
they will.
Give it 10 or 15 years, or even 20 years, but they'll do it eventually.
I can see that. I can't see them letting the franchise lie if it does well, which I think doing well's hitting
the linchpin to it is Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And his charismatic approach and, you know, his laissez-faire sort of, you know, style to it. I don't see who can take on that mantle. They tried, didn't they, with, what do you call him?
Eden.
Shia LaBeouf, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
It just didn't work.
Yeah. Definitely bad choice.
It was Chris Pratt. That was the internet rumours years ago, wasn't it? Like, before Harrison signed up for this one, Chris Pratt was meant to be tipped, but
if you take the sort of logic of how long they've taken to get this one together, probably Chris Pratt's too old now.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
As I say,
it lends itself more to TV, I think, than it does film. It's almost like Adventure of the Week kind of television, I think.
in my opinion, I think it just needs to end on a high, end on a good last movie. Here's hoping it is. I'm not looking at any of the spoilers. I'm not looking at any of the reviews. I'll make my own judgment on it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it's going to be good fun.
Yeah, I kind of 100% agree. Moving on to something else that was good fun last weekend was Star Wars Fun Day. And Paul, you and I had a chance to head over to, I always go to say Burnley, Blackburn, right next door to Burnley. And we enjoyed the adventures and fun that Star Wars Fun Day brings. And Fantasy Tracks had their booth there. And you also managed to shoot some video with Grogu, who was on his adventures, and we can kind of check out Grogu visiting some of the guests at Star Wars Fun Day.
It was nice of them to play along.
It was, yeah.
I sort of showed them a clip of what I was sort of aiming for. You know, I was just like, just swipe the saber 2 or 3 times and I'll like jump over it and run away. I'm not looking for anything spectacular. But it turned out well.
Did.
That was my first real time of messing around with a 360 camera, so.
And Star
just
Wars,
an idea that sort of it kind of worked, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's one of those probably rare occasions in Star Wars Fun Day where there's such the good fun atmosphere where you can get guests out there to do signings and photos and so on, who will spend time with you, interact with you, far beyond just the 3-second signing that you may get at some other conventions. It's got that nice vibe about it.
I mean, I was talking to Mike Gibson for a good half an hour. I mean, mostly about Hamilton, not Star Wars, right enough. But, no, I had a good chat with him. And then Samantha, she was at our table at the dinner with the stars the night before. And Samantha's just always great crack. She was on top form. She had a good night.
Yeah, Claire, you weren't able to make it this year, but we'll maybe get
I was a little
bit
jaded after my night of DJing and celebrating the Big 5-0. I'm not going to lie, I'm gutted. It's always a great day. That one, I just like it because it's almost like a little mini celebration. I know that there, perhaps because it was so close, wasn't it, to celebration, that unfortunately they were saying that there's like a contractual obligation, isn't there? You can't do signings at celebration for a certain period of time, etc., etc. But to me, it seemed like great crack. It always is great crack, and Paul and Neil do a great job for a great cause. So a fair play to them. I'm hoping to make it next year.
Yeah, big shout out to Paul, Neil, and the team. This
Oh,
week,
Brian, sorry, before we move on, shout out to TK375.
yeah, TK37.
Oh, I've heard.
They'll know who they are.
Right. That's all
When
I'm
an
going to say.
auction goes horribly wrong, apparently, I've heard.
This past week as well, we were fortunate enough to be at the Harrogate Toy Trade Show, and we got a first look at the Young Jedi Adventures products in their packaging. They were revealed at Celebration, but this is the first time we've been able to see what they're going to look when you go to buy them in the shops. We've got Nubs, Yoda, and Kai. These got a surprisingly incredibly popular reaction to these toys at Celebration, which kind of took me a little bit left field. I kind of didn't think people would be too engaged with them, but the series is out there. I've seen clips. Looks fun for the age group that's targeted at, and the toys are going to be coming to the shelves very soon. Is this a series you guys have had a chance to check out? And
Nope.
Not for
No.
you. This comes back to what we were saying. Not all the Star Wars needs to be for everybody.
No, my only, so after seeing the figures there, is Nubs an Ewok?
No, I think he's a new thing. A new thing.
Right,
New
okay.
thing. Is that a technical?
It's a
Is that a
technical term.
technical
I
term?
need to look up what Nubs is.
Cousin of an Ewok or what? Like they've got to be.
Right.
What is he?
Let's find out what Nubs is, because it's going to annoy me otherwise.
So that's
He's a poobah.
A
Hooba.
poobah.
A poobah.
Okay.
Whatever a poobah is. Anyone know? Anyone
That
in the
was
comments
a
know
nice
what a poobah
question.
is? Have we come across poobahs in the Star Wars galaxy previously?
I've not heard of a poobah before, but I'm pretty sure I've heard of a poobah in other contexts, and probably not in the right context.
No, it's a whole new thing.
Right, okay.
They're furry and they have large ears.
The figures look great. Very cute. Bang on target again for sort of that, late primary school, up to mid, secondary school age group. That's the sort of thing that they collect.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that they like. Oh, look, cute big eyes, love it. Buy it.
Definitely.
And if it's all on, I know a lot of people were talking about it and saying that they've done it on YouTube, etc., etc. So I think it's got its market, hasn't it? It just isn't something I'm so interested in.
Yeah. Let's see if the next item grabs your interest more. From Rogue One director Gareth Edwards comes the Crater. He's released a teaser trailer for the series, and just looking at the poster, it's very Ralph McQuarrie like. Is my
it's a great poster.
take. Films hitting cinemas September 29th, and we can kind of check out the teaser whilst we discuss it. Gareth Edwards, Rogue One, loved Rogue One. Loved Gareth Edwards. I thought he was a fantastic guy. Had a chance to meet him at Celebration in London. Not this time, but it had been the time before, second Celebration in London. Got some signed artwork from him. Then happy to spend time with the fans, and very much a fan himself. And this is his first sort of real project. It kind of feels since Rogue One on a significant scale. And it's got a huge element of, you kind of feel a more gritty Star Wars, which I think he tried to achieve with Rogue One.
Yeah.
Claire, you've spoken with Gareth Edwards. I think you interviewed him as well for the very first episode on Fat the Tracks Radio of Making Tracks. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so it was amazing. He was doing a charity showing of Rogue One in his hometown of Nuneaton, which is literally 10 minutes up the road from me. And he held it in the cinema where he went in as a child, etc. So he was able to do that. He was raising money for his charity that supports people like his sister who've got life limiting and life condition. Angelman syndrome, I believe, is the condition.
Yeah.
And he is a great guy. He is very passionate. He does not watch his own films. So in the background, as it was all playing, for literally the entire of the film, he chatted to us about the film, about his time at Lucasfilm Limited, at studios and how this process and everything went. He's a great guy, and he absolutely is a sci-fi freak, Star Wars freak. And you can see that in this new trailer and in this new film. And the thing for me is that it feels like gritty Star Wars, and ILM are involved in it. 20th Century Studios are involved in it. So it's almost like it's got the approval, it's got the approval of Disney and and Lucasfilm Limited in a way because of the involvement with ILM, etc., etc. So I'm so looking forward to this.
Certainly on ILM social media, they were pushing the release of the teaser very
They were
hard,
so
and
positive about it.
the comments they made were more than a company that's been contracted to do work on a film. They were really into
Absolutely,
this
they
film
were
and really
really,
celebrating it.
yeah, they were really buzzing about it, really promoting it. They, you don't hear or see corporates, do you, doing the whole, we are so happy to be part of this project, etc., etc. You know, I, I, for me, that was almost the tick in the box, isn't it? There's the seal of approval. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It looks amazing.
Yeah, Paul, one for you that you'll be looking forward to seeing in
Yeah,
the cinema.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, those sort of beach scenes, I mean, you automatically think Scarif. And then I'm also thinking, like we were all told the way Gareth shoots his movies is he likes to swing the camera around, like doing full 360 pans so that, the the grips and the electricians and, the folk in the catering are all ducking out the way, and you can just imagine that him doing that again on those sort of wide shots down on the beach again.
Yeah, I'm delighted it's he's working on a studio film again because I'd like to see him get back involved in Star Wars. The likelihood of that's probably slim because I think
Aye.
Lucasfilm are always looking for someone new and someone different.
Yeah.
But
Bring him
yeah,
back to one
I
of the
just
TV shows. Bring him back to Andor.
yeah, you could bring him in,
You
do an
know,
episode.
I know there was a whole sort of a controversy, wasn't there, about the fact that he didn't finish it or didn't make the cut. But ultimately, that film was his,
Yeah,
and it was amazing. It was the best one, and it ranks in my top 3 of Star Wars films ever.
yeah.
Just saying.
As I always say to people, that there's rules and regulations as to who gets what credit in a film, and that's over.
Mhm.
It's worked out in the percentage of what your involvement was. So his name was still director of Rogue One, which means that the
Correct.
majority of what you see in the film is what he produced. So
Correct.
as much
Correct.
as you can bring like Tony Gilroy, who's doing a great job in Andor, into rework elements of it, it's still Gareth Edwards' film in the end.
Yeah.
The big story of the week next, I think, I don't know if it shocked everyone or not. I can't come to that conclusion, but let's get rid of the trailer. We're playing the trailer again. What am I doing? Here we go. Look at it. Big story of the week. The Galactic Starcruiser has been decommissioned. The Halcyon will be taking its final flight on the 28th of September, just 18 months after it opened. And just a few years after it was revealed back in 2019 at D23 Expo. Something of a controversial experience in that it costs roughly $1,200 per person per day. Family packages closer to $6,000 for the 2-day. We'll call it an excursion, but effectively it's your 2-day immersive experience in a Star Wars hotel combined with trips to Batuu, the Star Wars theme park at Disney. I wasn't surprised by the news because I could see it happening earlier in the year when they started cancelling dates in high season in the summer. And I kind of predicted that it would be gone. Maybe didn't think it would be gone that quick. But certainly Bob Iger coming in, he has got an easier situation for him to wield the axe on things than perhaps a sitting CEO would have. He can come in and look at things fresh and make sharp decisions, and clearly an experience that's losing money or certainly not generating the kind of money that they thought it would, and it's been shelved. And Claire, I think you were impacted by the decision to close it.
Yeah, well, I didn't see it coming. I'm not going to lie. I didn't see it coming. I don't necessarily look at social media in that sort of sense in the rumour mills and looking at cancelling, etc., etc. But yes, for the big 5-0, I had, well, as soon as it was announced, however many years ago, what was that, before COVID, so 4 or 5 years ago, I knew it was going to cost an absolute fortune. So I started saving. And the aim was for myself, Marcus, my husband, my daughter, that we would go and experience it for my 50th. So we decided that we would do it not in May because that's quite high season. It was very hot, etc., etc. We'd go October. So so I was booked for it. I was boarding on the 28th of October, I think it was, for the 2 days, 2 nights. I'm not going to lie, it was expensive. But from what I had heard from people who had been on it, not the social media influencers or the Star Wars people who had been at it, who had been invited for free, but actually the people who had paid and bought and gone on it, they had said it was an experience that you would, you'd never forget. The whole effort, the cast, the crew, everything was absolutely spot on. The whole experience. I've heard about, somebody who brought his wife and kids. His wife absolutely not into Star Wars at all. I was chatting to her at Cantina, Emma, and she just said, "Oh my God, Claire, it's amazing," and I'm not a Star Wars fan. So I was so looking forward to it, and I was a bit in disbelief really about it when I heard it, because it came off the back of the news that Disney had withdrawn their funding for this new headquarters or whatever, where they were bringing everybody over from California. So it kind of went under the radar a bit. And then somebody messaged me and said, "Does this affect you?" And I was like, "Yeah, it does." So I'm going to make a shout out now to Hank at Outer Rim Travel, who I booked the Starcruiser with. They've done an amazing job. So if you were booked on it after the 30th of September, Walt Disney World contacted you, and you could either have a full refund on what you'd pay, including your deposit, or you could put that money towards a trip that would happen before the 30th of September, and you would get 50% off. So I believe now that the last flight on the 30th, or what ends on the 30th, is completely sold out now. And I believe that other things are, filling up fast. But we couldn't do it. We couldn't get to Florida logistically before the 30th of September. So Hank organised it. Walt Disney World called us. I said, "I'm really sorry, we can't make it." So, but we will still be traveling to Disney anyway. We'll definitely do Galaxy's Edge. We want to do Olga's Cantina. So he said, "No problem." We sorted it all out. We've applied for the full refund with the Starcruiser, and then rebooked into another Disney resort for the time that we were going to be there. For Disney to come back and say that they have given us the discount on our stay in Disney for those dates that we had booked onto the cruiser for. So actually, in the end, we've saved ourselves a hell of a lot of money. I still get to go to Galaxy's Edge. I will hopefully get on to Rise of the Resistance. We'll book ourselves into Olga Cantina. And in a sense, I don't know what I've missed.
Yeah.
By not being on the Starcruiser. So, I'm disappointed, but I'm not overly disappointed, if that makes sense. I know from what I've heard from people saying at Galaxy's Edge, it's amazing and you'll have a great time. So I'll do that. My hope for the Starcruiser was it was like the Secret Cinema when they did Star Wars. That was epic. I mean, that was absolutely epic. And that was sort of my whole hopes for the Starcruiser. But do you know what? I've done Secret Cinema. I'm getting to Florida in October. So I'm not that, I'm disappointed. But I do feel awful sorry for the cast and crew who were told 10 minutes apparently before it was announced publicly. They didn't see it coming.
Yeah. Paul, your take on
Oh,
Galactic
Claire's cover. I was going to mention Secret Cinema. That was, I mean, and again, like, I feel sorry for, see, the likes of the creatives behind it, who have obviously spent so much time and effort coming up with the story and the background and the whole immersive experience. But the price point is just ridiculous. I mean, especially since COVID, during COVID, since COVID.
Yeah. So, I mean, the price was it about $8,000 for the
For
three of
3 days.
us? Yeah, but it was, it was.
I mean, I
That
get it.
included
Like, you're going, it's your
that
50th,
included
you
park
know. I'm
tickets.
not,
That included our park tickets. That included us going to the front of every queue when we
it's
got
still
there. That
silly money.
included your food and drink, you know.
Yeah.
So if you sort of take it in that sense, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I saved up for it. I mean, I literally, and now I've got shed loads of money to spend when I'm at Disney. Is ultimately the crux of all this.
I mean, you could go to
But,
Hawaii in Australia.
yeah, well, you see, yeah,
You
we've
could
already
literally,
decided with the
you
money
could
that we've
literally go
saved,
around
we've
the world
already
for
put
that sort of
somewhere
money.
else.
If
Yeah.
you go to one of the sort of, we call it higher end, is unfair to say, but one of the higher end Disney resorts, like the Polynesian Resort, which most people would be familiar with because that's generally where when you arrive in Disney and park up, you're probably right next to it. That's expensive. You know, there are Disney resorts that are expensive, and if you book the Disney experience with the Disney resort, the breakfast, the other elements that they do, it does rack up to an
I just
expensive
think they need to scale it
trip.
back a
But
bit.
yeah, it did jump out at me when they announced the prices, and I thought, are they pricing it at a point so they don't have too many guests because of the immersive experience, or not? But I think they had 100 rooms. I think I'm right in saying it was 100 rooms.
Yeah, something like that. It was very small.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
it's a
everyone, don't
very
get me wrong, like,
exclusive.
everyone that I've seen go to it has loved it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's, and again,
And
I
and
remember,
all said it's worth the money. That's the other
aye,
thing.
well,
That's the other thing about it is that people have said, yes, it's expensive, but
is that
don't
people
knock
who
it
have not
until
been
you
to Secret
try it.
Cinema, though?
Yeah.
You
And
know,
it,
that was the crux
Like,
of
when
it
you
was
can,
don't knock it until you try it. And
I
everybody who's been on it, who has paid, that I've
has
spoken
enjoyed
to,
it.
have enjoyed it and said it is absolutely anything that a Star Wars fan would want.
And it's interesting to me because Secret Cinema has just been bought over by a US company who are going to be opening the experiences and having like a permanent residence location as well in America. And I wonder if that factor plays into it as well, because when people start getting that kind of experience at, $100, let's say, price point, it starts to question other immersive experiences price points as well. But being an accountant, I always look at things slightly different. I watch the Walt Disney financial announcements every quarter, not for news items, but just to see what's happening with the business. And I called the problems with Disney Plus and the model of Disney Plus and their ability to reach profitability years ago with many other people who have worked with residuals in the streaming business. And you're seeing the examples of that now where they're having to change the Disney Plus model and they're removing so much content off of Disney Plus to try and get back to that element of the business being profitable, because they're making huge losses on the service, and yet everybody's probably, as a subscriber to Disney Plus, is delighted with what they get from it. There's no criticism of what the content creators are putting on the platform, but content like Willow's getting taken off after 6 months, which seems crazy and it's an insult to the creators. But from a business standpoint,
Jeff Goldblum's being taken off it. That is a crime.
Yeah.
That is a great show.
but without knowing the sort of contracts behind it, there'll be reasons why, because there'll be targets if it hits certain view levels that more payments have to be made to writers, directors, producers, and so on. So they're just avoiding that scenario by making it unavailable on Disney Plus, and they'll sell that content to other platforms, and they'll move to this more hybrid model, which is kind of what I thought they should have done at the start, which was first runs on Disney Plus and series being on other platforms 6-9 months further down the line. And you're starting to see some of that happening with Amazon and Netflix as well. I think I'm right in saying I saw Stranger Things was getting a release on DVD, for example, and I can start seeing some of the Star Wars content becoming available on other media as well.
Yeah.
And when you look at the parks, the parks is always the most profitable element of Disney's business. You take every segment, every part of the business, the parks is the most profitable thing. But in the last 18 months, it's probably been the most criticised thing for its pricing. I don't just mean that in terms of the hotel, but in terms of every aspect of ticket pricing.
Tickets, yeah.
And people have generally been happy, from locals with their season tickets through to just general visitors. And so...
Well, the Disney experience is not the Disney experience it was before COVID.
Yes.
And that is a fact. I've had 2 friends now who have gone to do the Disney holiday, and both have really enjoyed it, said it was the holiday of a lifetime, but they've said it's probably one of the most stressful things that they've ever done. And it shouldn't be. That should not be. It used to be so simple to do. You booked your holiday, you booked your tickets, you got your fast passes, you had your dining plan, you stayed on resort, the things were there. You didn't have to worry about a park hopping before a certain time. You didn't have to worry about getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get online, to get your fast passes. All these things have been like notches in the proverbial coffin for the Disney parks. And I know that they've announced like the dining plans coming back. They've announced that they've listened and heard about everybody's complaints about the lack of lightning passes, the park hoppings between the days. You can't do it between certain days. You're going to be allowed to do that whenever you want. So all those things are coming back, because actually what they've realised is they majorly cocked up by not having them there in the first place.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird, because obviously not Bob Iger, but the Bob prior to him came from the parks and became CEO of the whole company. And it was almost like they took their eye off the ball in terms of everything they were doing and got all the decisions wrong.
Well, they blame COVID for it. They blame COVID for it.
I think
nonsense.
COVID plays a part in terms of they furloughed 40,000 staff.
Yeah.
And furlough in America are very different from the UK. For the UK, you got 8% of your wages. You pretty much got next to nothing if you were in California. So all those 40,000 people started looking for other jobs. And I can imagine on the other side of COVID, not many of them came back. So you've lost a huge amount of wealth and experience in terms of looking after people in the park experience. And that's Disney's punishment, I guess, for treating their staff that way, because a multi-billion organisation could afford to keep their staff on for that little bit longer, I think, at the start of COVID than at the end. And when you lose that experience, and it could be minimum wage paid staff, but minimum wage paid staff who are performing at exceptional levels in terms of looking after
and
guests.
love their jobs. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Even if they were minimal, they loved their jobs. When you go to a park, it is clear, and Andrew Walker, who's a Panther tracker, will tell you this, because he worked at Disneyland Paris. He loved there. He loved working there. I think what he did was he pressed a button on one of the rides for it to stop and start. That's what he did all day. But he loved working there for that year that he did it. You know, it is something that you do for the love of.
Yeah,
you know,
you lose that heart when you take that staff away. You lose that heart of the business, and it kind of feels like that's happened. And obviously, Bob Iger's come back in. They've realised how important the parks are to the overall business, and they've started to try and walk back a little bit and as you
Yeah.
said, restore things back to the way they were, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But they're going to try and do that, I think.
I hope what they don't do is then just turn it into a Star Wars hotel. I don't think they can. I don't think it's big enough
Well,
to turn it into a resort.
that was where I was going to go with my point, actually. So I remember I was at Star Wars weekends in Florida. I think it was
Yeah.
2013, I think, because Disney had just bought them, and I was staying at is it the Sports Hotel?
Yes.
Yep.
I think I'm right, but aye. So I was in there. That's like, I think that's the cheapest one that you can stay at within like Walt Disney World. I think I'm right in saying, well, it was back in the day. I'm not sure about now.
Yeah.
But that was like 10 years ago. And I remember I was walking back from the park to the hotel one night, and it suddenly dawned on me. It was like, wow, like Disney could build a Star Wars hotel. Like, how awesome would that be? Instead of going back to a hotel that's like got goofy playing sports and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, it's like, wouldn't it be cool to go back to a Star Wars hotel? And then when they announced, I mean, theoretically, it was a good idea. The whole LARPing aspect, get everybody involved. I just still think the price point was out.
I kind of feel that
way too much.
quite.
But I do actually hope that they scale it back and just build a Star Wars hotel where everybody can go and stay at.
I think that the fact that
It needs to be a big resort. If you're going to do it on that sort of a scale, then it needs to be a big resort. But the problem will be, as we know, where do people stay in Star Wars? Where do people stay? They stay in huts, or
take
they
away
stay in Death Star.
take away the whole LARPing aspect. I'm just talking basic Star Wars hotel.
Just a themed hotel, yeah.
Themed hotel. Take away the whole LARPing aspect.
I think the location of where the hotel is, because it's right on the edge of the park, means it's going to get flattened. Because I think there's probably in the long run more scope for them to physically want to expand a park or do something with that land. And you're more likely to find a hotel built somewhere else and people bust from there to the park, I think.
I have a feeling what they might do is, because it's not such a big hotel and it is attached to Galaxy's Edge, I think you'll see it turn into one of those restaurants, you know, like a Be Our Guest restaurant, or, you know, the themed restaurants that they do, the Pizza Planet ones or whatever. I think they'll turn it into something like that, but they'll have like the dining plan, the medium dining plan, and then they'll have the fine dining plan. So I think they'll split it up into that, because that's a perfect walkway in from Galaxy's Edge, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think if you strip out the entire interior of it, you're back to a shell building where you could really put anything inside it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a significant change because it affects Galaxy's Edge as well, because they've tried to create this entire immersive experience. You start to wonder, does Galaxy's Edge stay in universe, or do they start changing that a little bit, move it away from the sequel trilogy? Does it revert into, you know, set in another era where it's round about the Mandalorian, whether it's the original trilogy? Does it become a little bit more flexible and not really stay locked in a story? And it just becomes, you know, a less immersive, but a Star Wars land with themes from different shows and different movies.
Yeah, possibly.
It's interesting.
It'll be interesting to see.
Obviously, we're now not going to get that kind of thing over in Europe. I think people have been asking for it for Paris. They're still building a Star Wars themed area in Paris. I'll choose my words carefully there because we still don't really know what it's going to be. But I think in the last earnings call, I'm right in saying that someone asked for an Avengers Academy at the park out in America. And Bob Iger's response was to sigh. So it's interesting to see, are they interested in this immersive experiences, or do they view it overall as a failure and they're going to move away from it altogether?
You see, I think that the thing is it depends on the size of the franchise, doesn't it? So Harry Potter and Universal is pretty immersive. it's a great visit to go and do. We'll be going to do it again when we're over there. But it's very niche, isn't it? They haven't really included the Fantastic Beasts in that world.
Yeah.
It's literally the Harry Potter films, and that's it. The problem with Star Wars is it's, as we've talked earlier tonight, is expanded, so it's just too big now. Where do you go with it?
Yeah. It's a difficult one. It's an interesting
Yeah.
one. It's the whole Galactic Starcruiser, I think, experience from the beginning has been controversial.
Yeah. I'm
you
sorry.
remember-
I am disappointed. I did
Yeah.
bloody well save for it, but you know what? Hey, I've got more money to spend on other things.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you can't. The people that chose to do it, you can't criticize them because it's their money and the effort that they've gone into earning that money to spend it how they want. I think it's a general feeling that Star Wars should be accessible for everybody, and as much as even getting to Disney and doing the Disney experience isn't accessible to everybody, people want to kind of think that something's within their reach.
Yeah.
And I think people looked at it and thought, I could never justify spending that kind of money. It's not the case of I'll never have the money to do that, because if you want to save for something and do something, you can. I think most people can. It ends up being a choice, and it becomes more of a I just cannot justify it to myself spending that kind of money.
I would say my husband would tell you that. He was like, going, really? We're really doing this?
Yeah. I think that was my kind of take from the outset. I just thought I spend ridiculous sums of money on Star Wars books and comics, and if anyone knew it, they'd be disgusted. But I still would never contemplate spending the sums of money they were wanting for a 2-night immersive experience. And I think part of that's because I do secret cinema a lot. I do a lot of experiences.
Yeah, we do secret cinemas. We've done Bond, Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars. I'm not doing Grease. I'm not going to do the Grease one. I don't really like Grease as a movie. I'm not sure I could bear it. But I know it will be amazing, and it's literally down the road.
Yeah. And I think as they expand into America and they have permanent locations and touring locations in America, and more people experience what they do, makes it difficult for bigger players to get into that sphere, I think.
My first one that I went to was Prometheus. And I think I'm right in saying that Prometheus, and that was like the same day of release. So like they tied it in with, you could go down to Leicester Square and watch it in the Odeon, or you could watch it at Secret Cinema. And I'm not sure they've done it with any other movie like that.
No, they haven't. It was Casino Royale.
Initially, you know how they sort of tease you of what you're getting to see. I actually thought I was going to see Alien.
Okay, yeah.
But it turned what I mean? Like that was the headspace that I was in, thinking, they're just sort of timing it so that it ties in with Prometheus. It's just, but then to actually turn up and it was Prometheus, it really took me by surprise.
You see, that's the whole essence of secret cinema.
Back to the Future and then Star Wars. But then, as you're saying, Brian, as they take that to the States, I can see that becoming more of a thing.
Well, if you take how they've succeeded in the UK, they've actually charted numerous times films in the top 10 in the UK in the box office from just running it from one location. Just because it's been so popular, and the spend there to attend it is higher than your average cinema price.
Like Italian, can you imagine going to a Indiana Jones when that comes out, doing an Indiana Jones?
That'd be amazing.
The one not to do on a recommend
highly. Destiny as it's coming out, that'd be fantastic.
Highly recommend that
you do little treasure hunts and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, highly recommend you don't do horror films, because I don't think I slept for a week after doing 21 Days Later. I've never been more scared in my life. It's just, that was terrible. I'll never do that one again. But yeah, like the big experience films, Back to the Future, Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy was great. What else have I done? Done Grease.
Casino Royale was good.
Casino Royale. Anything that's got a major theme around the movie that you can really pull off a interesting experience. Even films that I don't particularly enjoy. I'm trying to remember the one that Ewan McGregor was in, the French musical.
Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, Moulin Rouge. Not a fan of that
Aye,
film
aye.
at all, but it was a great immersive experience. And
I wish I'd gone to the
The
pub to
thing
Malone. That would have been cracking.
yeah,
Yeah. The thing about secret cinema is, and this will be interesting to see if it, and I hope that it doesn't lose its thoughts, is the secret cinema is it's secret in its location, but you know the movie.
yeah,
Or it's a secret movie, but you know the location. So they did the Amy Winehouse one, but you didn't know it was Amy Winehouse, the
yeah.
Amy Winehouse movie, but you could guess it because it was held in Camden at the Roundhouse.
Yeah. So they kind of changed the model. I think originally they didn't really tell you what the film was going to be. And they've kind of changed it to they now tease you in the lead up to the tickets going on sale as to what the film could be and try and make you guess.
They do both. They do both.
Yeah.
They do. You know what the cinema, you know what the film is, but you don't know where the location is.
Yeah.
And you do, and vice versa. You know where the location is, and it's linked to the movie. They haven't done that one in a while, to be fair, have they?
Yeah. I wonder if why it became difficult for Disney to recreate the same is that they kind of encouraged people not to cosplay when they were attending the Star Wars Hotel or Galaxy's Edge, or at least hold back the cosplay a little bit in terms of they didn't want attendees to be confused with people who were actually part of the experience, which you can understand from Disney's point of view why they're doing that. But on the same hand, it took a little bit of the fun of the immersive experience out of it, I think.
Well, what everybody does now is Disney bound, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you but you know you are it, but you're not it.
Yeah.
I think
Casual
they did.
cosplay.
I did
Nothing
think
too
they
serious.
actually encouraged you to do that while you were on board the cruiser.
Yeah.
I think you were encouraged to actively cosplay while you were on board.
Yeah, purchase what was available in the gift shop.
No, I think you could bring it with you. Because I've seen a couple of people who brought their, were on the Facebook group. Once I booked it, I didn't realise there was a bloody Facebook group for it, so I joined it, and oh my god, it's a whole different world.
Yeah, definitely. It's been actually quite sad reading some of the comments from some of the people who've been and wanted to go and do it again, or like yourself, Claire, who had booked and were looking forward to it. So
yeah,
as much as it wasn't something that for me, you don't want it taken away from other people either.
No, I mean I'm sad, but I'm not that sad. I don't know what I've missed, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Plus, I get 50% off my next Disney stay. Who can say that?
Yeah, definitely. So if you're at Disney and you see Claire there, drinks are on Claire.
Yeah. No.
I think on that note,
I do have to put a shout out to the guys at Outer Rim. They were great. The Outer Rim travel. They have kept everybody, I think, pretty sane. Those people who worked with them. So hats off to them. They've and actually from a point of view for somebody from the UK just trying to book anything Disney, they are definitely your guys to go to, because you do get stiffed.
Because to be honest, I thought about doing Galaxy's Edge when it opened, and I still haven't done it to this day. Obviously, COVID was a factor and everything since, and I've never been across to America post-COVID, and so I still haven't done Galaxy's Edge. And to be honest, when I started looking into it, I was like, oh, I can't be bothered with all this. It's far too complicated, and so I haven't done it, and that's kind of why I'm part of some of the sort of Facebook groups. Because people have done it and the information that they possess, and they're so clear as to what you should be doing and the way to do it. And as you say, we kind of get screwed over if you try and book anything through any of the official Disney platforms in the UK, because you feel like you're only getting a quarter of the information you need to have the best possible experience.
I got told that I couldn't book a 7-day visit Or I couldn't book a trip that was less than 7 nights in the UK through the official handlers.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorted. Is all I'm going to say. You know, it's an interesting one, really.
There was actually an instance this week where one of the lightsabers that they quite often release at Galaxy's Edge was $20 cheaper at the park than it was online. And when the Disney shop were asked why, we've got no idea, was the response.
Oh.
So yeah, there's definitely improvements that could be done, I think, to selling the experience. But on that note, I think we'll call it a night. And thank you very much to both of you for joining us and dissecting this week's Star Wars news and Indiana Jones news as well. And always great to speak to you both. And Good Morning Tatooine will be back next Sunday at the same time. And we'll be discussing all the news that comes out this coming week. So, Paul, Claire, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for the invite. Talk Star Wars.
There's Grogu. Look out for more of his adventures coming soon to Father Track social media.
If you're going to London Filming Comic-Con,
I forgot. We should have had our Fantha Bantha. I have that still.
Oh, aye. Yeah, London Filming Comic-Con. Come and say hello. I'll be running around with the 360 camera again.
Go for it. Your chance to slice Grogu into. Right. Good night, guys.
Good night. Thanks ever so much for having us. May the force be with you.
Right.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantha Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.